Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cartoon Soup Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a new web series. Okay, Mel was doing something. I don't know what's going on. We're talking about
Sorry.
new.
Sorry. The how there's like a on some desks they have a pull-out thing where you can pull out a little thing and then you can put your keyboard on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Mine was stuck. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
aggressively trying to open it.
Okay. Anyways, we're talking about a web series called. Anyway, okay, you made me forget what I was completely talking about. We're talking about a new web series called Dream Catchers. This is about two little creatures who have to help people solve their dreams and their problems with their dreams. So let's just get started. Okay, episode 1. Our two main characters, Star and TV, decide to go to work for the day. Together, they go to Christina's dream to help her deal with her loneliness problem. I love the character designs for Star and TV, and I adore the grainy, video quality in this show. I just think it's really amazing how, it's so grainy and, I don't know, it's so different from what I see in most media, and I really love it because of that. The live action was something I did not expect, but I think it's a great thing to add to the show because I really see live action in animated shows. I just think it was a really nice addition. I really like the dynamic of TV acting like he's the one who knows better, but in reality, Star's the one who's better at their job. I just hope this dynamic eventually changes because if it gets dragged out for too long, I feel like it will get old real quick and I would start to get annoyed by it. So TV mentions that he used to have another partner. Are we going to get some backstory or is this going to be a more offhand comment? Because I'd love to see what the other characters who do the same job as Star and TV look like, and I just feel like it'd be a really interesting plot to explore. The ending song for the show is catchy, and I love it. I just think it's so fun. TV mentioned spending all his money on Criterion movies, and I think TV commenting that he spent all his money on Criterion movies adds to his character, even if it's not like an important part of his character. I just think it's a fun comment, and it's a reoccurring joke in this show. It was a joke in the second episode again. I'm not sure if it's going to become a recurring joke, but I would love it if it did. So there's one thing I have to be a picky bitch about when it comes to this show, but there is one thing that absolutely annoyed me about the show and made me take a second take when it comes to this show, at least in this first episode. I will say this becomes less of a problem to me in the later episodes, but so far in this first episode, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And I personally think this problem has to do with how it feels way too fake deep at times. I personally feel like the show is fake deep. Like you know how in some episodes of Adventure Time, it's specifically the earlier seasons, Jake the dog will say some philosophical crap and everyone in the vicinity will say, "Wow, that's so deep." When in reality it tends to be some of the most surface level shit you ever heard. That's the kind of vibes this show gives me at times, especially during the first episode. I'm sure that for some people this could have made them realize some deep shit about themselves, but for me, it felt too much like Jake the dog from Adventure Time at times. That's just me though. I just personally got annoyed by it, and I personally think there are some like in the third episode, for example, I feel like they managed to go somewhere deep with that. But in this episode, I just wasn't feeling it. I just feel like this was kind of surface level. And yeah, that's my notes.
Right, so first things first. I think I like the animation just in general. I don't know what exactly they were using, like what system they were using. It had this stop motion vibe with what looked like needle felted characters, which I thought was like so cool. I feel like often when people try to make this kind of animation, they go more for the claymation vibe, but this felt very much like they looked like needle felt characters. I also love the color palette. These girlies know their color theory. I've said this before in other things, but I love when like the media we're watching cuts to another medium, and in this case, it was like a live action reality TV show. Whenever shows or movies or whatever do that, it feels like this nice little break in what we're doing, and when it's done correctly, it's fun. So I don't care for Star. His personality irritated me. I understand we needed a contrast between personalities of the main characters, but I didn't care for him. He sounded like a bitch boy, and I don't care for bitch boy characters, which is tough because they are literally everywhere.
Maybe it's the inner bitch boy in me, but I personally really enjoyed Star.
No, don't do that to yourself, Marco. You are not a bitch boy.
Okay, okay.
You're not a bitch boy.
I'm
You know
glad
what
to
you
know
are?
that.
You're just a guy.
I'm just a guy. Okay.
You're just a guy. You're not a bitch boy. That's the vibe you give off. You're just a guy. So, Marco, what would you want to see in this series? Like, if there was, because I mean, this seems like they've structured it in a way where like they can break off and like do unique things. If there was one thing that you'd want them to like put in here, what would it be?
Here's the thing. I understand that. I feel like this show it has a really great thing with like its monster of the week format. I would personally just love a bit more backstory on why these characters are here. What's TV's other partner, past partner that he talked about? World building wise, I'm just so curious about how the world works, and I feel like this might be one of those shows where that's never explained, and I'm honestly fine with that because I do understand why someone would want to go more with the monster of the week format. Personally, I just want to learn more about this world. That's what I want to see more of.
I think personally, I just want to see different media. Like in this episode, like I said, we got the live action sitcom cutaway. I would love to see other mediums or just like genres in general, right? Like they use the sitcom show to like discuss what was wrong with like the character. So I know I think they do that in another episode, kind of, right? They had like, you know what? I don't remember, but there's like a black and white scene where it looks a little like Twilight Zoney. So I think it'd be really cool if they continue to do things like that. And maybe just got like a little bit more goofier as the show goes on. Not goofier, but I guess like stranger. Oh, and like my dream cutaway is for them to like be in some marionette play. That's my dream for this show. But the possibilities are endless, especially with this kind of reality breaking format. And that's it.
Episode 2. TV and Star are working again, and this time they have to help someone with their falling dream. TV is such a fucking nerd, and I love it. Like, he starts quoting some philosopher when what would have helped in the situation is plainly explaining things. Yeah,
Do these things have gender?
you're so right. I don't know.
Do we know?
I
Can we
the
pronoun
more
these?
I'm just gonna use they. I've
Okay.
been using he because I think that's what they use in the show. I think I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. Yeah, I'll just use they. But I love how much of a fucking nerd TV is. I like how Star tries to gaslight Jordan, the dreamer, in this episode, into thinking he's not falling. Like Jordan's like, I'm falling, and Star's like, no, I'm not. And they just keep repeating that, like, you're falling, no, I'm not. I just really enjoyed that joke. We get another joke about how TV loves the Criterion collection, and I hope this becomes a reoccurring gag in future episodes. I just really enjoyed that. For a second, I thought this movie was going to become a musical, and honestly, I think I'm glad it didn't. I don't know how I would feel if it became a musical because Jordan started being like, I can sing. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? Like, are you a theater kid or something? Please stop. It was a bit much. Like, I think unless a show is specifically trying to be a musical, suddenly adding a musical element to it just does not work for the most part. So I don't think it would have worked in this episode either if it started to become a musical. So the new character we're introduced to is named Jordan, and can I just say I love his little square head and I love how his eyes pop out of his head so much. I just think that's a really cute character design and I think that's amazing. And I love how unique some of the character designs in this show are. And that's it.
You know, have you ever had a falling dream?
No, but remember when I told you about my Five Nights at Freddy's dream?
No.
I had a dream where I was being chased by one of the robots in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh my god. What, in like 2012?
No, it was like last year, I think. No, like 2 years ago.
Marco, that's too recent. That's too recent.
And you know what? I woke up when they jump scared me. Like it literally shocked me to wake up.
Wait, that's kind of cringe.
Stop! I know it is. I just I just find it funny and you
Jesus.
know.
Oh my god. Dude, out of all the games that could have like come into your dream, the fact that snap, that's
And you
insane.
and you know
So
what? I've never even played a FNAF game.
who was it? Was it
I honestly don't remember. I was being chased by multiple of them, but only one of them caught me and then I woke up.
I wish I could say Freddy? Was it Freddy? Was it
I
ooh,
don't know.
was it Golden Freddy? Ooh, FNAF lore.
Can you stop? I know I know it's cringe. I don't wanna be made fun of for it, because I already know,
Okay.
like Like, imagine how I feel knowing that that happened to me.
I know I just mercilessly mocked you, but thank you for sharing. I hope I made you feel seen and comfortable. Well, I asked you that because when I was a kid, I had this reoccurring dream where I would get stuck on a giant swing, that would progressively get faster and higher until I would start spinning in never-ending circles, and I'd always wake up, like, out of breath and crying. This made me, like, wonder if this was real. I would love to know, what these fucking dream catchers would get out of me, like, how they would perceive that constant nightmare I had. Okay, I love how stars I agree with you. I love the gaslighting in this. I think that was a plus for Star. I think gaslighting can be a little fun, a little quirky sometimes. And that really did make me see Star in a bit of a different light.
Did that make him seem like less of a bitch boy to you?
A little bit, yeah.
Mm.
But then they got in their feelings and was like, but what if nothing's worth it? What if you just have to let go and let No. He got back on his bullshit. And I think that's it's kind of that's kind of why I didn't really like this episode because it reminded me of this repeated nightmare I had as a kid. But also, okay, they had some good points about how in some cases you simply cannot control what's going on. But the idea of letting go and losing control is a fucking it's fucking insane. And it's an idea that I refuse to think about as an American. Losing control. Are you kidding me?
Okay, episode 3. TV and Star are in another dream, and this time they have to help Ella get to the top of the floor of the building so that she has a chance to get promotion with her boss. The episode ends with Ella realizing that getting to the top didn't make her happy. The tubes in this episode are kind of weird and it kind of freaky, and I really love just how they were shaped. I don't know, it really, like the way they glitched out and everything looked really cool to me. I think this is my personal favorite episode so far, but I do think maybe the first or the fourth episode are the best, like realistically looking wise. I just really love the way this episode ended, and I feel like the retrospection Ella had in this episode actually felt warranted, unlike the first episode. Like her realizing that all this work she put through did not like make her feel fulfilled was actually something I really enjoyed seeing, and it felt earned, unlike the first episode. So that's why this episode is personally my favorite because the realization Ella has as a character feels earned, unlike other episodes we've seen so far. So in this episode, TV mentions the movie Eraserhead, which I haven't watched, but oh okay. So I got this wrong. Just so we're clear, we originally were going to review this for first 3 episodes. However, episode 4 came out like yesterday or something, and I thought this was going to be foreshadowing for episode 4, but I was wrong about that. In this episode, TV mentions the movie Eraserhead, which I haven't watched, but he explains how it's about the fear of becoming a father, which I personally thought was going to be foreshadowing for episode 4 because the trailer for episode 4 came out and it was literally about this guy learning to be a father. I was wrong. That was only like the first 30 seconds of episode 4, but I thought it would have been so cool if that was foreshadowing, but I was wrong. Whatever. And that's it.
I really wish Star fell off that tube and died. I feel like I got clickbaited a little bit when he only slid down.
Okay, if you were no, I can't say that. What
You
would
can
you
say it.
think, okay, if you were going to make Star into a human, what do you think he would look like?
Hmm.
Because I feel
Mhm.
like that's really telling of why you don't like him.
Mm. Um, just like a meek little guy. But he's a no like, here's the thing, is it's not about looks, it's about vibes. The things he's saying, they make me angry and uncomfortable, you know what I mean? And I don't think I care enough to turn him into a human. Because like, if I really did think about it, it'd probably be like 70% of the people that I work with.
I don't know,
Um,
I don't mind him. I think I get the vibe saying, but I don't truly understand. But whatever.
I get okay, and this is something I'll point out later, but it's also this thing where it's just his personality is very much he always wants to be positive, and he always wants to be friendly, and he has this naivety to him that is not endearing, and it's just irritating, and I know that if I had to work with him at my job, I'd be so fucking frustrated.
See, here's my thing. I feel like this would be a character that I would hate and that you would like. So
No, for what
my
reason?
because like okay, the wording you said reminded me of like Greg from Over the Garden Wall. It reminded me of some other characters we've
Oh,
seen.
whoa. you're forgetting a couple very key aspects about Greg from Over the Garden Wall, okay? He's a little bit of a gremlin, okay? And
Okay.
he has this level of he is a little stubborn. How do I say this? I just feel like you can't compare them. They have a couple similar aspects, but I feel like the core aspects are just they're I don't think I agree.
Okay. I'm just interested in what about him doesn't make him endearing to you.
I think it's that other thing where, like, it's a very small line that not to be, like, sexist or anything, but male characters in general or, like, seemingly, like, guy characters, you know what I mean? They walk a
Male
fine
adjacent.
Yes. They walk a fine line in my head. A great example of that is that pathetic emo character in, the Scooby-Doo Halloween movie we watched, versus Kyle from She-Ra, right? They're both aggressively pathetic, but for some reason, I love the emo guy, and I fucking hate Kyle, right? If you want, I can, like, on my own, like, delve deeper into this strange phenomenon that goes in my head, but I know that there's a method to this madness, and just there's something off about, Star that just makes me fucking hate him.
I don't think I truly get it until you delve deeper, but that's
I
for another
will
day, I think.
I will try and figure this out for you in my free time. But the last thing I have to say is I was really hoping Ella would jump off that building. I really feel like that would have just wrapped up her feel like that really would have I feel like that really would wrapped up her story nice and neat, and it would have been funny in the way that, like, sudden and shocking things are funny. Because imagine that very beautiful imagine that very beautiful scene we got, okay? And we get let's say we have this back shot, like, the beautiful sunset, they're all sitting on the cliff, Star and TV are at her side, and then it's quiet, and you see Ella's figure fall down. You can't tell me that's not funny. Think about the scene I just painted you. You can't tell me that's not funny. And this whole time she was trying to climb up that ladder and to, like, reach the top, and then, like, she has this reflective moment, and in that reflective moment, she's like, "Well, there's nothing at the top. Might as well go to the bottom." And then she jumps off. And I'm not saying suicide is funny. I'm not implying that she kills herself, Margot. You're laughing because you think I'm telling her to kill herself. This is a dream, Margot. She doesn't die in the she doesn't die in the dream. She just jumps off and falls to the bottom and she lives. But the idea of her jumping
I need you to stop explaining yourself and just be quiet while I calm down.
Am I making it worse?
Yes, I was dying laughing while you were explaining that.
Think
I
about
mean, I
it.
get it. I get what you're trying to say, but the way you said it was so amazing. I just love that. God, oh my god.
That's all I have to
Oh my
say for
god.
this episode.
I'm sweating now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyways, let's move on. Wow, that was really something. Anyways, let's move on with episode 4. Star decides to go into someone's dream on their own and ends up meeting a dreamer who can control their surroundings. The dreamer tries to hurt Star and TV saves Star, but the dreamer ends up stowing away on their boat. So I did have a feeling before I watched this episode that episode 4 would have a lot more of a plot focus because I saw the trailer for episode 4 and it seemed like Star would be looking into the water and I was like, "Oh, are we going to get some more plot like in this show?" And we did, which makes me really happy. I love that this show is actually exploring different types of dreamers and is going into the lucid dreaming side of dreaming. I think it's great they're going into that. I just think it's cool. But I will say, I don't like the weird horror laugh we got at the end of this episode. So we see the scene of the dreamer stowing away on their boat, like waking up on their boat, and then the camera turns down and it goes pitch black, and then there's just this creepy laugh and creepy monster smile. Are we going to horror round now? Like, what's going on? I really did enjoy this episode, but I'm not the biggest fan of that aspect of this episode.
This episode was upsetting. Not for the reason you'd think. I had to spend 10 minutes with a piss boy. And something that really pissed me off, and this is contributing to, like, that fine line that these characters walk in my head. Something that really pissed me off was his comment he made about TV and how TV says that they're only work partners, but he knows deep down there's something more. Like a true friendship. Gross gag. It's called Boundaries, freak, learn about them, star. For some I hate when characters fucking do that, where they're like, "Yeah, this person, they just really wanna stay cordial with me, but I know they wanna be my friend." I really hate when people do that. It's like it gives me similar vibes to when somebody when you're like, "No, I don't really like that thing," and the person's like, "Yeah, you do." It gives those same exact vibes, and it, for some reason, really irritates me when people do that.
Like, you don't know me? Like, do you think you know me like that?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But that was a point against him. I really don't know how I feel about, this lucid dreamer. I liked how this show was episodic. I guess it will be interesting where they go with this, especially with that freaky little cliffhanger. I think I'm just afraid I'll be burned like I have many times before with these animated web series we review. Not the best track record so far. Except Humans Be Gone. That show has never done me dirty.
Don't I was about to say, "Don't forget humans be gone," and then it took me a while to realize that's what you said.
Yeah.
So, forget I said anything.
I think that's the only successful web series we've watched where we enjoyed it and we liked where it was going. But besides the fact that I hate Star, I'll keep an open mind. And that's it.
Overall, this is a pretty promising web series. I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. I personally really love like plot lines that follow through on actual plot elements in their show. I'm not the biggest fan of episodic stuff. Mao is, so I'm actually genuinely really excited to see where this goes in the future. And we will be keeping an eye on this show and maybe reviewing it again in the future after enough episodes have come out. But overall, I'm really excited for the show, and I think it is pretty great, especially the art. Like I mentioned before, the grainy art style just looks absolutely amazing and is so unique, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I think overall it's been fun. I also love the animation style. I love TV. There were also some existential ideas explored, but I don't feel the need for this show to like thoroughly explore those. I kind of like how they stay relatively surface level. I know that you sort of want them to explore it deeper, or you don't like the shallowness of it, but I like how it is relatively surface level and they give solid solutions to the dreamer's dilemmas. I don't know how I feel about episode 4. I'll have to follow the show and see where it goes before giving a solid opinion. But I mean, from what I've seen, it's looking pretty fine so far.
Anyways, that's our thoughts on Dreamcatchers episode 1 through 4. Check our social medias in the description, and that's everything. So goodbye.